was a teenager, my parents and I moved from California to a secluded area in North Idaho. My parents had just retired and built their dream home deep in the back country. We had no neighbors in sight, just forest, endless, dense forest that backed right up to national park land and paper mill logging grounds. The house was massive, 2 stories, a gym, a full bar and pool room, and a legit movie theater set up in the basement. It felt like the kind of house people dream of, remote, quiet, perfect, or so it seemed. I was dating my high school girlfriend at the time. One night, while my parents were out on a date downtown, I invited her over to hang out and watch a movie. We were completely alone. I cracked open a beer. I was underage, but figured no one would care, and we headed down to the movie room to watch Gladiator. Everything started out normal, but somewhere around the midpoint of the movie, maybe close to midnight, something switched in me. Out of nowhere, I was overwhelmed with this fight-or-flight feeling. It was like my body sensed something my brain couldn't see. My heart was pounding, and I kept glancing at the uncovered windows behind us that looked out into the pitch-black woods. I didn't want to freak out my girlfriend, so I kept it to myself. In fact, things got a little heated between us during the movie, but the whole time I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. I didn't know from where, but I knew. After the movie ended, I walked her upstairs and out to her car. The house was dead quiet again. She drove off, and I turned to go back inside when I remembered I'd left the bar, pool room, and movie room lights on. So I went back downstairs. I turned off the lights in the movie room first, then paused. My eyes drifted to the large window that looked into the backyard, and that's when I saw him. Man, he looked homeless. Wild hair, filthy clothes. But what froze me in place was his expression. He had the biggest, creepiest smile I've ever seen, with wide, staring eyes that looked absolutely deranged. And in his hand was a knife. He was gently tapping it on the glass over and over. At first, I thought I was hallucinating. I slowly backed away and went to the bar room to shut off the rest of the lights. That room has a sliding glass door that also faces the woods. I flipped the switch and watched in horror as the man calmly walked from the window to the door, still smiling, still staring. At this point, we were less than a foot apart, just the glass between us. He didn't try to get in. He didn't move at all. He just watched me. I went upstairs without a word. Right then, my parents were walking through the door. I told them, I think I need to go to the psych ward or something. I swear I just saw a guy with a knife watching me outside. My mom went pale. My dad's eyes narrowed. And without a word, he went to the gun safe, grabbed his rifle, and stormed out to check the property. I asked my mom what was going on, and she said, there have been a few break-ins in the area. A guy wandering through the woods trying to get into homes. The description you gave matches exactly. The police were called, but they didn't find anything. No signs of entry, no footprints, just cold black woods. That should have been the end of it, but it wasn't. That night, as I tried to sleep, I could hear a light tapping sound beneath me. My bedroom was on the second floor, directly above the movie room. It sounded like metal, gently tapping glass. I tried to convince myself it was nothing. The tapping lasted for hours. This happened night after night for weeks. Sometimes it would stop. Sometimes I'd wake up at 3 a.m. and hear it faintly again. I even thought I heard footsteps on the roof one night. I checked the windows, but I never saw anyone. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being stalked, watched. Then winter came. My parents had to go out of town for a few days, but they were still nervous about what had happened. Before they left, they gave me a shotgun just in case. We also had a big Rottweiler, sweetest dog you'd ever meet, and totally silent unless something was really there. One night while I was home alone, I heard slow crunching footsteps in the snow outside, heavy and deliberate. The dog stood up, ears perked, and began growling low and deep at the front door, then barking, ferocious, loud, and nonstop. He only ever did that when he saw something real. I stayed silent. I didn't want whoever was out there to know I was home. I didn't move. Then came the knock, slow, hollow, and taunting. I didn't answer. I slept with the shotgun next to me that night. Door locked, blinds drawn, dog at my feet. The next morning, I went outside and saw something that made my stomach drop. Footprints. Fresh human footprints circled the entire house. They stopped at every single window, like someone was trying to look in, searching for me. I followed the prints around the property, and they eventually led into the forest. I followed them maybe half a mile before they started to zigzag, veer off, loop back like whoever made them was trying to throw me off their trail. I turned back. Something told me it was a bad idea to keep going. That night, the tapping came back louder this time. I knew it was him. I unlocked my door, grabbed my shotgun, and stepped onto the second-story deck. I flipped on the fog lights that illuminated the backyard. There he was. Same man, same smile, and same dead eyes. He was holding the knife again, staring directly at me like he could see through me. I raised the shotgun and shouted, "If you don't leave, I'll put one right through you." He didn't move or flinch, just stared, unblinking, grinning. I fired a warning shot into the air, and I finally got a reaction. He staggered a bit, then slowly backed into the woods, still facing me. That's when I decided to unleash the dog. I sprinted downstairs, threw open the sliding door, and let him loose. He bolted into the forest like a black missile, barking and snarling. I'd never seen him that aggressive. He had a shock collar, so he couldn't go far. But I like to think he chased that guy off for good, because after that night, I never saw him again. When I was in college, I carried with me the weight of being different. I am a Muslim girl, and while most people around me respected me for who I was, there were always a few who didn't. Two brothers in particular made sure I felt their cruelty. They weren't just classmates, they were constant shadows during my time at school. Whenever they got the chance, they called me a terrorist. They laughed about it with their friends, turning my identity into a joke. It stung every time, but I tried my best to ignore them. What always made me angry inside was the truth about their own family. Everyone in town knew their parents were behind bars serving time for multiple murders. That was no rumor. It was a fact. Yet here they were, standing tall in front of everyone, trying to label me with something ugly while pretending their own name wasn't already tainted. I kept my head down most days. There were good people around me who defended me whenever those brothers went too far, and I leaned on that kindness. But still, their words followed me, and I never forgot the way their eyes lit up when they managed to make me flinch. Life at home was my escape. I lived with my parents in a quiet suburban neighborhood. Our house wasn't big, but it was warm and safe, or at least that's how I felt back then. Nights in our area were peaceful. A few streetlights cast a soft orange glow on the pavement outside, and now a car would pass, breaking the silence for a moment before it returned. I loved those nights when everything seemed to slow down. After dinner, my parents usually went to bed early, and I stayed up in my room reading, finishing assignments, or just scrolling on my phone until my eyes grew heavy. One particular night, the routine felt no different at first. I was upstairs lying on my bed with the ceiling fan humming above me. My phone screen lit my face as I absent-mindedly scrolled, too tired to focus on anything serious. Outside, the world was still. Midnight had come and gone, and the streets were empty. Our curtains were down, and the only thing breaking the darkness in my room was the faint glow from the streetlight outside, sneaking in through the edges of the blinds. That's when I first heard it. At first, it was so faint I thought it was part of a dream. A whisper, soft and low, like someone murmuring just beyond the walls. I lifted my head from the pillow, holding my breath. The sound faded, then came again. Too deliberate, too close. I pushed my phone aside and sat up, straining my ears. It wasn't my parents. I could hear their steady breathing down the hallway whenever I left my door cracked at night. This was different. Then the whisper gave way to another sound. 3 quick knocks against the glass of my bedroom window. I froze, every muscle in my body tensing. My room went colder somehow, the kind of cold that doesn't come from air, but from fear crawling under your skin. I tried telling myself it might be a tree branch, but we had no tree near that window, and the tapping was too precise, too sharp, like fingernails or knuckles. Slowly, I turned my head toward the blinds. A faint shadow moved behind them. My heart was pounding so hard, I could hear the blood rushing in my ears. I wanted to scream for my dad, but some part of me told me to look first to be sure. Against every instinct, I stood and walked closer, each step making the floor cack softly. With shaking hands, I reached for the blinds and pulled them back just an inch. What I saw made my breath catch in my throat. A face was pressed against the glass, staring straight at me. The light from the street lamp outside cast it in a sickly glow. It wasn't a normal face. It was hidden behind a clown mask. The wide painted mouth was frozen in an unnatural grin, and the hollow black circles around the eyes made them look deeper, emptier. But inside those eye holes, I could see them, real eyes watching me. I staggered backward, a gasp escaping before I could stop it, but then I saw more. Standing a little further back, just out of the direct light, was another figure, taller, broader shoulders. He too wore a clown mask, his head tilted slightly as if he was waiting. My mind connected the dots instantly. Even with their faces hidden, I knew who they were. Jack and his brother. The same boys who had tormented me at college. And now they weren't just throwing words. They were here at my home. Fear burst out of me in the form of a scream. A raw, panicked sound that ripped through the quiet of the house. The masked face at the window pulled back suddenly, and I heard the rustle of quick footsteps on the grass outside. My bedroom door flew open almost immediately. My dad stood there, eyes wide and alarmed, asking what had happened. My mom rushed in right behind him, her face pale with worry. I could barely point at the window, my hands trembling violently. My dad darted forward and yanked the blinds all the way up. He peered out into the street, but it was already empty. The 2 figures had vanished, leaving only the flickering glow of the streetlight and the faint rustle of leaves in the distance. I collapsed onto the edge of my bed, my chest heaving. My mom gripped my shoulders tightly, trying to calm me, but the fear wouldn't leave. I could still feel their eyes on me, still hear the tapping on the glass. My dad didn't hesitate. He grabbed the phone and called the police. The minutes waiting for them felt endless. Finally, flashing red and blue lights washed over the walls of my room. Officers walked through our yard with flashlights, their beams cutting through the darkness. They crouched under my window, searching the soft earth. I heard one of them say they found faint footprints in the dirt. When they came inside, I told them everything, how I had recognized them, even with masks, and how they had bullied me in college before. The police went to question the brothers the next day, but as expected, they denied everything. They claimed they were at the library that night studying until late. Of course, there was no proof, and since they hadn't broken into the house or caused damage, the police could only warn them. After that night, the brothers completely avoided me. At college, they never looked in my direction, never said a word, and never tried to bother me again.